the truth of that story is the Welsh players. That's a death knell in my career. Calling time on James Haskell.
GBR being laid to rest.
Thank you. Yeah.
But someone just see the Grim Reaper walk underneath the bed.
Thank you.
He's been following you around for a while, I think.
Yeah,
He's
fine,
taking all of us with him.
It's all right. We'll just have a moment. Just have a minute's silence for them. For my career.
That's amazing.
What I love is the fact that
that's
you're
a
trying
clip in itself.
You're trying to redress the darkest day in English
it
rugby
wasn't-
/ sporting history as England unfortunateness,
Yeah.
which is not even a word.
Right. It was.
Hello, everybody, and welcome along to The Good, the Bad and the Rugby in conjunction with our very good friends at Continental Tyres. It's been quite a weekend. We're in the lull between the dramas of round 2 and the excitements of round 3, and we thought we'd just have a little time out here in Nice. We've got one of the most beautiful views behind us that Nice is able to lay on. Notre-Dame, not too far away. You're going to have to trust me because we've got a Wally with a brolly
Due to health and
dominating most
safety-
of the landscape.
Due to health and safety, I can't allow rainwater to touch my barnet because the rest of it will run away.
Good.
So I have to have an umbrella. It was raining a bit. I just thought it was quite nice. And actually, we're not really talking to you, by the way. Just
Right.
to let you know, because you fucking let us down.
Absolutely delighted.
No,
that is
you're
the
not
instance.
delighted. You got really upset earlier because we all said, as a three last night, we're the three best friends that anyone could have. We're the three, and we will never, ever leave each other. We said this morning we were going to get up. We were going to go for a walk. You were going to go for a run.
You even put a time on it.
We didn't put a time on it. It's 7:45. We're going to wake up. We're going to go for you're going to go for a run. We can't run because we're both impaired.
You went for a walk along the
swim.
promenade like two old ladies.
Yeah, we did. And you went off for a run,
Did
went
your
off your
own
own
agenda.
swim,
Yeah.
then had your own breakfast and didn't reply to any of our messages. And we waited. I walked for 75 minutes. The arthritis in my ankle is so bad now.
And then said, I left you a message saying, as you saw me running out and you didn't talk to me, and just went, I'm going for a run, was your message.
And you got all upset because he went, oh, look who it, what did he call it? Sporty Alex.
Sporty
Yeah,
Alex.
I reckon
Sporty Alex.
every
Had his-
single one
had his
of our
tube
viewers,
socks-
listeners,
Tube socks managed to put
friends,
to his
family
knees.
will completely understand why it is that I went off on my own for a little hour.
Tube
of
socks
quality
looked a
time.
little bit sticky
Did,
as well. Yeah.
God, with PE kit. Did you have your green flash plimsolls on, did you?
Bonjour tout le monde and welcome to another episode of The Good, the Bad and the Rugby. I hope you're keeping well. It's been quite a tour. Another sun has come out, which is
view's there, it's
absolutely
all right.
essential. It's worth mentioning, actually, that we are doing this show, it's a big show of the week, at the Mercure Hotel, which is part of All, which is Accor Live Limitless. And they've been welcoming the teams, the referees, and the world's fans, essentially, into their hotels. We've been very well looked after. Having a little time out amongst the cacophony of Rugby World Cup 2023. And what I thought we'd do on this show, whether we do it or not is another matter, is we'd have a look at the 4 pool leaders after weekend 2 and just give a little rundown of France, who top Pool A, Ireland, who lead the way in Pool B, Wales, who are 10 out of 10 in Pool C, and England, who are top of Pool D with 9 points out of a possible 10. And then what I want to do is have a quick look at Tier 2 teams who have filled the love levels for Rugby World Cup so far. Shall we start, though, Mike, just with a quick overall reflection of the weekend that was, without getting too negative about England? Let's just give us a quick overview of what we've seen with France having to huff and puff to get past Uruguay, Wales huffing and puffing past Portugal, Ireland looking slick against Tonga, South Africa looking ruthless against Romania, etc. Give us a snapshot.
Look, I give you a snapshot. You're the snapshot king. No, I think...
Stop being so unpleasant.
I
Nice
This is
people
always
for
the
once.
way it goes when you
complaints
spend
HR.
so much time together.
Yeah,
You
I have
get
that
under
effect
the
on people.
skin.
Yeah.
Look, I think a lot has been overmade about France's performance on what seems to be 10 years ago now, but it was on Thursday. Look, they changed. I think they pretty much made 15 changes to the team. Problem is when you do that and make mass wholesale changes, everyone wants to impress. So everyone wants to be in the team the following week when it becomes the first team again. So everyone tries just a little bit too hard. It gets disjointed. You know, they left a few tries out there without a shadow of a doubt. But at the end of the day, a bit like England yesterday, 5-pointer, bonus point win, they'll go away relatively happy.
Yeah.
I never understand that, actually, just as an aside. We coaches do that. You know, we obviously got the team bin juice. I was part of that on a number of tours, a number of occasions, and it was always kind of one of those weird situations where the coach would come in, the the starters, as it were quite clear. They'd give the bin juice a run out. They'd change everything. So nobody had played together. Nobody was sort of super confident. They hadn't
Doesn't really give you a chance.
Doesn't really give you a chance. And then, and it kind of with the hope that you would win, but not win well enough. So they were forced to change the team on the weekend. And then when the bin juice would win and destroy all the coaches' plans, you then go, yeah, you have done really well, but we're just going to go with the original team because they're the ones in possession. They just make stuff up.
Did you play in the England-Uruguay game in 2015?
Yes.
Was that the worst moment of your international
Well,
career?
it was also when I was about to score and I dropped a ball, very uncharacteristically.
No one was watching, so did it really happen?
And that was when my dad. That's when my dad came after. He saw me. Well, son, they'll be confiscating the shoelaces and belts after that performance because that's probably the last time you play for England. Love you. Your mother and I are off. That was it.
Last time you ever saw it.
Yeah. I think my dad said to somebody else as well. He goes, "Well, he won't be playing for England anymore. We loved it here. Loved to meet all of you. See you later." And that was it. And then
so matter of factly.
Yeah, it was. And then we basically it was one of those pants games. But that was the weird week as well, where kind of I'd never been involved in any leadership meetings. And they'd sort of called a crisis meeting in, where when it's sort of, I remember in Lancaster's office and everyone sort of panicked and they went, it was like you could just hear the ticking down on the clock, as sort of time was running out for everyone.
It's a countdown.
And then they said, what do you think? And I just came out and said, look, the media's going to hammer you. We can't fault the effort. We can't fault the work. We've still got a job to do. There's plenty of people here with opportunities. We need to finish this with our heads held high. Whatever anyone says, no one knows how much work we put in this tunnel. And they went, oh, you wouldn't say that in front of all the lads, would you, for the next meeting? And I was like, well, not really, because you haven't put me in any of the leadership stuff. Like, yeah, could you? So I went and said that. Then we obviously got played against Uruguay. Managed to get a win, but for a bit of a hiding to nothing, and that was the end of it. And I generally thought that was my last game. So it is always weird when they change it and expect people to get a victory, and it always kind of affects things. Where we talked about this England-Chile game, we will come on to it, but as it's relevant now, I'd keep the core, the spine of the team, and drop in a few key players that you want to get blooded. You want them to have an opportunity.
If you look at that, someone like Marcus Smith at fullback, Freddie Schuur's played every single game. You know what you're getting with him. Be quite interesting. We're seeing snippets of Marcus Smith came on, made a difference for me yesterday. He looks lively when he's got that bit more space at fullback. It probably suits him a little bit better in terms of how we're trying to play the game at the moment when he's at 10. I'd like to see him there as a full game. But
what about Elliot Daly at 13 as well? Why did they never play Elliot Daly at centre? That's his position. It's his best position.
It's his original
position.
It's his
original position. But I think he, everything he does, his handling skills, his footballing ability.
That's where Gatland wanted him to play for the Lions.
I don't know why you don't get the opportunity to do that. It's things like that, moving existing players around potentially, and then bringing in, like I said, just a couple of tweaks, and then load the bench so that you can drop those players in, but they're still with the original team. They're still with a team that has some cohesion, that understands the game plan. Instead of doing what France did, is they do it, then it puts added pressure, and then those players don't get another opportunity because they were pants for the majority of the game, and that's their tournament over, really.
Can we play a game? I'm literally making this up as we go, which is
we've had some of your games before.
Get excited, don't get too excited, don't panic, or panic. So you've got 4 options.
So say again, panic.
Get excited.
Yeah. I love the way that your brain took you to panic first.
Yeah. Panic.
Or was that just
tapping panic button?
Yeah.
Right. Get excited, don't get too excited, don't panic, or panic.
Yeah, fine.
Okay. France.
Get excited.
Off the last game, don't panic.
Don't panic. Okay.
Oh, fine. Oh, sorry. In relation to the last game,
Yes.
I just thought generally.
Just where they are after 2 games played.
Don't get excited. Don't worry. They changed 15 players or whatever they did.
Okay.
It's relevant.
Ireland.
Get excited. They haven't played anyone serious yet.
Yeah. Don't panic.
This is the difference between us.
This is a great game. I'm glad we just threw this in here. Don't panic or don't get too excited.
Don't get
get excited.
Don't
get too excited.
Don't panic doesn't fit in.
No, it's not. It's a very simple game, but you're fucking it up as per usual.
What is the correct answer to? We haven't really shown anything. After South Africa is where you would judge them. Really.
Right, so let's just get excited because they're playing South Africa.
Get excited. I'll go along with you on that, James.
Have Ireland almost done everything that could have been required.
They've been perfect so far.
And Johnny Sexton beats Ronan O'Gara's point scoring record. Unbelievable scenes.
Yeah.
Well done, sir.
So they've been perfect. They look like a well-oiled machine, but there is a big but because they haven't been challenged yet.
No. Okay. But get excited because they're playing against Africa.
Wales, who top Pool C. Get excited. Don't get too excited.
Panic.
Because
they should have lost to Fiji.
Yeah.
They were poor against Portugal, and I think Australia, even though Australia lost to Fiji, Australia looked better than Wales did against them. So I'd be panicking that you're going to lose this game. And
I wouldn't. I would say, what's the one where we
actually that's wrong.
Excited was the one where you're like,
they're 10 points. They've got 2 bones.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Excited is like, I don't think they're going to win the World Cup, but what's the one underneath that? Don't get a little bit excited.
Yeah, I mean, you can have a middle ground.
Yeah,
which is don't
I'm
get
saying
too
like.
excited.
Yeah, it's all to play for. You're not going to probably win the World Cup at the moment. Let's not get too excited. But you're be excited. There's excitement in the title.
Where's the be worried?
Yeah, be worried.
Okay.
I'm just hearing that we haven't got a second series in this game. It's gone straight in the bin, but we'll keep going as we are. So, okay, so England. So, because off the back of the game, it's up in arms, and we'll sort of get into some of the comments that have been made around that performance.
Get inside. What was below? Get excited. Don't worry.
Panic.
You can't even remember the fucking rules. No, there was panic.
Don't panic.
Don't panic.
Don't get too excited or get excited.
Yeah,
so where are we with England?
Don't get too excited.
Don't get too excited.
Yeah.
But also don't
panic.
Don't
would fit. Okay, I'll take my last one back about Wales. That would fit to Wales.
Yeah,
don't get too excited.
Yeah,
okay.
They're top of the game now.
Top of the group.
Yeah, don't get too excited, but also don't panic.
Yeah. Right. We've had some lows on this show.
Yeah.
I reckon we're bombing you.
It's funny that you normally steer us there as well.
Every shit game. The shit shirt show, awful.
I love shit shirt show. That's bad.
The quiz, there's so many crap ideas.
I think what I'm trying to get to is the fact that
no
we
one
are
knows.
2 weeks into a Rugby World Cup.
Yeah.
And
it doesn't matter yet.
There are high emotions around England, particularly coming into this tournament because of how they played. In the warm-ups in particular. We have done a job on Argentina with 14 men. We have picked up a bonus point against Japan. If you look at World Cups past, I suppose the question is, and I'll come to you, Tins, as a rugby pig, show me a team that dominated every single one of the games that they played in. New Zealand in 2015 would probably be as close to a controlled tournament, but all the other winners
New Zealand in 2011, apart from the last
battles.
That's not the whole thing, is it?
Yeah, but they also... Yeah.
But he tried to bring up 2003. Yes, we had difficult times in game, but at no point did we ever really look in trouble. We won comfortably in the end.
But I think when we were sitting in that bar watching the game off our iPhones, because we are committed, when we were watching it, we kind of... There was a bit in the middle where we were like, oh shit, they might lose. But that's only because we've seen them play England. We're talking about play crap and have thrown things away. But I don't think once you look at the second half performance and where they got to, was there actually any real panic? So I think you've got to be a bit more pragmatic. And I think that actually most of these games, it's just about chalking them off.
Yeah,
I think we want performances. Look, it's so weird that as a rugby fan, you come out here and you just don't want to watch dross, you don't want to watch handling errors, you don't want to watch rubbish, you just want to see an absolute tri-fest. I think as we're going to come on to later on the show, the gap between these different nations is closed. We've talked about it on the mini pod that's out before this, about kind of the fact that the conditioning, mentality, coaching experience is completely changed across these different nations. Actually, I think these games are just about winning. Like South Africa won a World Cup last time out, not playing particularly interesting rugby until they turned it on in the final.
Yeah, I mean that semi-final against Wales was one of the worst.
Yes.
I know we've got lots of people from South Africa who watch this, and they will have a lot to say about it. They were incredible in the final, take nothing away, but that semi-final
pulled England's
was
pants down,
dirge.
But I just think it was awful. But the fact of the matter is, they got there, and that's all that matters. And nobody talks about anything but that final.
So this is where I was trying to get to.
I think what England have to deal with is when the chips are down and when their backs are against the wall. That's when they play their best. So that is a good thing going forward into knockout rugby and pressure and the teams that you're going to play. I just wish they might cut their kicking down slightly from 50, which is more than most matches have in them at the moment in this World Cup, and that England kick the ball 50 times themselves.
Japan 37.
Yeah. So it was
good if you're on air miles in that match. There's a lot of hang time.
I tell you what, again, looking from like a former player's perspective, I think the real... If your team has 1-2, but they haven't played particularly well and are in a good place, it doesn't matter. But it might leave a bad taste in sort of the fans' mouth because you want their entertainment. You've flown all this way. You spent good money to come here. That I can understand. I actually think it's sadder for the players who've had opportunities who haven't performed, because your tournament's basically over if you don't. You might get one more opportunity now, but those two first early pool games are an opportunity to put your marker down to kick on for the rest of the tournament. Yeah. And I think there's some guys that probably played themselves out of contention later on, and there's some guys we haven't seen. There's been some different selection. I think that's the hardest part of being at this tournament. Sitting in that hotel now, we've got a few more weeks left. Our team's done well, but I probably haven't performed, and I'm not going to feature. And then once you're in the bin juice, it's very difficult to get out. So I think that we've just got to be a bit more matter of fact, and I don't think it's actually the end of the world. We're 2 from 2.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever going to replay that Japan game ever again and watch it again. They'll review it this week. They're playing Chile, and then we're at the business, and we're still top of the table. So
But that's what Hask goes back to saying is like, are they going to make wholesale changes for this Chile game? And I just don't think they're not quite synced yet. So
they need a proper run out with an opportunity.
They need to. Yes, you can make a couple of changes to give some people who feature on the bench week in, week out. But I just don't think we're in a place, as long as people aren't sore. Obviously, body and health comes first in terms of you going longer into the tournament, so you have to look after bodies. But outside of that, you need that consistency in partnerships, combinations, because as you can see, with the amount of knocked on drop balls, it's not there yet. It's not synced into what we're doing. And that comes by more time on the field in a game situation, not in training. I don't care how intense you say training is, it never replicates what you face.
I'd put, if I was going to do it, I'd put Ellis back in. I changed Jamie George because he's had 2 games.
Ellis made a difference.
Yeah, Ellis was machine.
Yeah. But do you need to? I mean, considering how much more rugby there is to come, do you need to play Ellis?
No,
but
then there's also a week off.
There is a week off, and I think. Look, Lawrence played every minute of every World Cup game in 2003. I know it was a slightly different game. It's still physical. It's still very demanding. Still playing a lot of games in a season. I'd put Ellis back in. I changed James George because he's had 2 games. But I put him on the bench. I give the next hooker up an option. I would put. I think Ben Earl's been pulling out trees. I'd keep
Theo Dan did all right.
Theo Dan when he came on, he made that little line break, didn't he? I give Jack Willis a game. I'd put. I keep Courtney at 6. 9. I might swap out 9 and maybe put Alex Mitchell on the bench and give Danny Kerr an opportunity. I'd put Marcus Smith to start, but I'd put Owen Farrell on the bench. Give George Ford a rest because we've seen 2 games for him. And then you know what I mean.
Give Danny Kerr a start.
Yeah, but that's all. And then I would put Elliot Daly to centre. I'd keep Manu on because you want Manu firing. Manu's back is good when he's fit and he's playing. And
would you start Billy?
No, you could do, but again, I'm always tentative to make too many changes. But someone like Billy's got so much experience that maybe he could come on.
But he desperately needs game
time.
Yeah,
well then maybe you put Willis, Courtney, and Billy in, and then you put Ben Earl on the bench to keep him going, to keep him playing, because guys want to play. Like
I'm going to be harsh here. You've got opportunities. Billy came on with 20 minutes to go, touched the ball twice maybe, in a game where you've got 20 minutes to, you've been suspended. I don't expect him to be running around everywhere getting his hands on the ball, and you just don't see that. And I think this is a little bit of a problem. We've talked about it before. Is that England play completely based around structure, and a lot of the time it doesn't suit the skill sets of some of the players within that. And they've got to have the ability. The amount of times we went down the outside, you've got fast ball, and we're looking to create structure off the back of fast ball. Fuck off structure and just play what you can see in front of you.
They did that actually in the second half.
A little bit, and then we knocked the balls off.
I'd tell you what, I'd start Max Malins. I'd put Henry Arundel on, and we talked about maybe putting Marcus Smith at fullback or play him at 10, keep Freddie Stewart on, and have a couple of guys on the bench and rotate them on. And there, you've still got a spine of the team. You've still got a team that you would, start against the Samoa, but you've got a couple of guys who'll get some experience, and then hopefully you'll gel as opposed to making wholesale changes.
Having said all that about England, let's bring in our British Airways Highflyers segment of the week. Who impressed you the most?
Listen, one man stood out continuously for England, who wasn't necessarily given much of an opportunity before. Ben Earl, incredible, 76 metres made, 3 defenders beaten, 14 carries, was it 13 tackles? Just next level performance. That I think his stats in comparison to everyone else was light years ahead. I thought Courtney was brilliant, but Ben Earl, wow, what a way to take an opportunity. He's carried on his form that he played for Saracens. He shows that he wants that shirt. He's the man in possession. Well done, sir. A flight to anywhere in the world. I can't. I haven't got the power to give you that. So you're just going to get
what I loved was the Terry Butcher headband as well. Yeah. Proper heart and soul, that. Well done, Ben Earl, who was our British Airways High Flyer of the week. And thanks again to British Airways, who've brought original people, places and cultures closer together for more than 100 years. Let's just very quickly dive in to bring you some Tour Tales, which is brought to you by CityIndex, the global provider of spread betting and CFD trading. We have been out and about with the England fans and a few of the family as well to find out how they are enjoying their time in France. Have a listen to this. We are the good, the bad and the rugby. We love a Genj on our show. How are you, Mrs. Genj?
I'm fine, thank you.
What does it mean to you to see a sea of white shirts supporting your boy?
It's what it's all about. Yeah. And if we can't do that, what are we?
It's very profound. I quite like that. Is this your first World Cup? What have you made of the whole show?
We went to 2015, which was brilliant.
We don't talk about that too much.
No, we don't. No, we didn't enjoy it anyway. It was horrible.
We've just loved every minute. Nice is beautiful, magical. What's not to love?
It's never ever this sunny in Scotland.
Enjoy it while you can.
Best bit. Oh, I don't know. The Paris Open was good.
Food, wine, women, sunshine.
All of the above.
Saint-Tropez Beach Clubs, easily.
Well done,
Much
mate.
taller than I thought you were.
Yeah, well, a little high heel every so often. Nice to see. Well done. And how far do you think England will go in the tournament?
I think final and 1 point win over France in France.
Love it. We're going to get that embossed on a T-shirt. Oh, God, we've done it wrong. It's the old COVID handshake. Rock, paper, scissors, goodbye. You're out. Travel safe. See you all later. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Well, that is your tour tales for this week. Thank you to CityIndex, who offer spread betting and CFD trading across thousands of markets. I want to come on to Tier 2 and just the general feel-good factor, but is there anything you'd like to say at this point around Ireland and Wales that we haven't already covered?
Oh, well, I thought Lewis Reed-Sammett's try and the little, the Suiiiii.
Did you like the Suiiiii?
I think it's very brave to copy Ronaldo. I mean, I think
when you've scored against Portugal.
Yes, but then it's confession that he wears Ronaldo's pants. I don't know if they're actually Ronaldo's pants.
Yeah.
I think they would have cost a lot to get a pair of soiled Ronaldo pants to wear.
Sure, there's a
But it's very
website somewhere.
Or there's a good tour tale on how he got them.
Yeah, that is very, No, but I thought it was good. I quite like the confidence. He's obviously a good-looking lad, pulling that off.
We said as we watched that Wales game, it is such a Gatland thing to play like they did and just snaffle, grab and
Well,
run off with
Toby
a try bonus
Faletau,
point.
I think, just talk about how important Toby Faletau is to that team. Getting that last gasp try, his kind of experience. He's been around for a long time now.
Yeah.
And he's been playing some incredible rugby. He's back, he's back from injury, and they seem to have a different team when he's in the mix.
It's very interesting if you compare the reaction to how England have played, beating Argentina with a sumptuous performance at 14 men, and huffing and puffing a bit, but still picking up a try bonus point against Japan. And you've got Olivier Magna saying, it's the worst team I've ever seen. They bring no joy. It's ugly rugby. And Will Green was saying only your mother could love it. And Wales...
We walked past him running today, and funnily enough, didn't stop to chat.
I waved, and I think he just thought we were fans.
Flicked you the bird because you're English.
Or just because I was like, hi, Miss Magna, sir. And he just ran off.
We know when your voice goes that high.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But if you compare the reactions to England and to Wales... It is extraordinary. But it's so Gatland.
Have you read the Wales online? I don't know. I can imagine.
I don't think anyone reads that, do they?
I can't imagine it's that positive. But as Gat said,
but he owns the space, Warren. He says we weren't very good today. We got the try bonus point. We move on.
Look, I wonder if you're in the crucible or the cauldron of Wales, or the kind of small pond of Wales, whether there is that sort of intensity and that sort of that passion that Wales aren't playing particularly well. Because if we talk back to 2011, World Cups are very interesting because the media around England in particular, it's never worries me because, we sort of, you expect that. But everyone sort of wants to have an opinion on England. Everybody raised the game to beat England. 750 years of empire building will do that to you. Not everyone's a massive fan of us in general. But the media is quite interesting. In 2011, when we were off on the Mike Tyndall Stag Do, bungee jumping and everything else, Wales went quad biking, which is far more dangerous than bungee jumping. People physically die
everyone went
all the
bungee
time.
jumping, by the
Everyone went bungee jumping. And, we even took the Sky people to bungee jump with us. And it was like, when it all came out, it was like plucky Wales on a lovely friendly adventure day, quad biking. England in death, bungee jump, injured players, and it's like, come on, guys. And they were like, Sam Warburton went, I haven't drunk, and everyone, amazing, dedicated Welsh people. Sam Warburton hasn't drunk for 6 months. Fucking the rest of the team were actually shit-faced the entire time. England got one night out with some unfortunateness, and we're suddenly drunkards.
The week after Ireland in the same bar were far worse than we were.
The truth of that story is the Welsh players, that's a death knell of my career. Calling time on James Haskell.
GBR being laid to rest.
Thank you.
But someone just see the Grim Reaper walk underneath the bed.
Thank you.
He's been following you around for a while, I think.
Yeah,
Isn't he? Taking all of us with him.
It's all right. We'll just have a moment. Just have a minute silence for them, for my career.
That's amazing.
What I love is the fact that
that's
you're
a clip in itself.
You're trying to redress the darkest day in English rugby / sporting history as England unfortunateness, which is not even a word.
Right, it was. And so the best thing, the truth about that is that no one ever talks about it. Is Sam Warburton said that, right? Wales on the piss the whole time, right? And then, but obviously they were, plucky because they played well and got to a semi or whatever it was. Then we had England, obviously had that sort of unfortunate as we talked about. The Irish at the same bar the week before, they'd gone on the piss for so long that they had to close the bar, clean it, pay the band to stay on later, and reopen it so they could carry on being a piss. And one of the most famous players was carried home.
It was asleep on the pavement.
It was, and it's like
That's
just
the one where his wife ran Shane Horgan to say, "Have you found my husband?" And Shane was like, "I didn't get picked for the squad. I'm back in Dublin."
And also the best bit was all the media on the piss with them.
Yeah.
And no one
And they're
talks
like,
about it.
they're great crack.
They're great crack. Oh, plucky Welsh, crazy Irish, great to be around. Disgusting, terrible English. So listen, don't get carried away with the press. Of course they go under the radar because England's taking all the heat. I mean, apart from England and Eddie Jones, because he's taking some of the heat. We get hammered. The rest of them get on with their business, and everyone brushes it under the carpet. We just carry on.
It's only been 12 years. Good to see you're both over it. Moving swiftly on. What I do want to come on to is the Tier 2 teams, but let's very quickly bring you a quick message from our friends at American Express. And as a small business owner, we know that you're always trying to manage work with some much needed downtime, and Amex understand that getting this balance right can be difficult. So we wanted to tell you about American Express business cards and how you can earn points on your business transactions and then use the points on doing more of the things that you enjoy. Take your standard office spend on laptops, online ads and supplies and get points on these transactions and use those points to help you switch off and recharge. That is the important bit. Perhaps you like Tins and you want a brand new set of golf clubs, or perhaps you like Hask and you need to purchase a new set of headphones for your upcoming trips to Ibiza. Or you could use them to book that once-in-a-lifetime trip that you have been waiting for. Get yourself out here to France. For more information, search Amex Business Card. Terms and annual fees apply. 18 plus, subject to status. Get involved in that if that sounds like your kind of thing. Tier 2, give me a snapshot on tier, because you and I did a lot of doodling. Hask went off to do a workout session last night. We did doodling on our restaurant tablecloths.
Yeah, until producer Tom destroyed all my
Until
work.
producer Tom poured Aperol Spritz all over it. But we're trying to build, what we're trying to do is build the narrative that the gap has closed enormously. And actually the numbers don't necessarily show that right here, right now. But the sentiment,
what we figured out is the average loss is down 16 points from 2003 to 2023.
And we're not getting those really ugly blowouts like the 145-17 Japan, New Zealand in 95. It was 142-0 Australia over Namibia in 2003. England put 100 on Tonga in 99.
The general is way better. There are a couple of teams that maybe World Rugby should look at investing in them, because then they haven't really stepped up. Whether you look at Namibia or whether you look at Romania, it's still work can be done. But as a general whole, I think what it comes down to is their approach. Like for years and years, it was about trying to hang on for as long as possible. Yeah. Whereas now you saw with the Portuguese, in terms of what they have with their sevens players, Uruguay with their just go-get-em attitude in terms of, I don't know how many of them play sevens or have got professional contracts, but they go to enjoy themselves and to play. And, the Haas spoke about the Uruguay captain and what he said at the press conference, but then there was also the Portuguese guy. He was saying, it's such an honour for us to be here. We just want to go and enjoy ourselves and make our country proud and try and inspire the youth to actually we want more people in Portugal to be playing rugby. Yeah. And they know that they need to do that by playing an expansive game that's good to watch with a good skill set.
And actually Chile at half-time, I think it was only a few points in it. Then obviously they got pumped in the second half, which is disappointing. But I just think there should be a celebration of that. I think for such a long time, things have been unbalanced. We've talked about it on the show as well with World Rugby and voting rights and all this other stuff. And I think, because of the gap in sports science being diminished and some investment and people being, in better shape and the players in these teams getting more exposure, I think it's, Mike was talking about it off air. It's no surprise that Japan have slumped a little bit because they haven't got a Japanese team in Super Rugby anymore. Argentina.
And it's no surprise Fiji have gone up with Drew in there.
And I think Fiji should get into the Rugby Championship. I think that would be a mega. I think what an incredible game from a team that play like you dream. The ability and skill of those players, often underfunded, under-resourced. You saw we had Ben Ryan on here a number of times. He talked about the trials and tribulations of
having to bribe them with Mars bars.
Yeah, and how he got that Olympic medal. They are some unbelievable players, and the journey that they've had was amazing. And to do it against Australia, I just think it's so uplifting because they play like. If I was going to go back and had any ability, I'd love to be playing that team. I could pick any team because it's just amazing. And they smile and they laugh and they celebrate and they're humble. And I mean, I'd get rid of the humble part. I'd ruin that bit. But the rest of it, I think, is just amazing. And I feel sorry for Australia. I feel sorry for Eddie. Eddie, I absolutely love him. But
They're
that
in
was
a
a
hole.
big
It's
moment.
like
They're in a hole.
who was it who made the break and he's running and he just dropped the ball?
Yeah.
And he saw his face, he was just smiling. He knew what a howler he'd made, but there's nothing he can do about it. Slams the floor, gets back up, smiles about it, you move on.
We talked about, we had Rory Best came in who'd done this sort of, had done the line-outs during the, or against the
With
Barbarians.
Cotter.
Yeah, and just
For Fiji.
and just talked about kind of the culture and, the hierarchical nature of it and being respectful and who leads the way. And I just think it's rugby at its purest, and I think they deserve everything. And actually, if you looked at the generations of players that have gone to other countries like Australia, like New Zealand, and how many amazing players would have stayed in Fiji. Oh my God.
That's where Drua is going to be very, very helpful. We don't often do detail on this show, but actually it's worth getting into the role that World Rugby have played in the rise of the Tier 2 teams. And World Rugby, obviously, they get a bit served to them, but every so often it's worth acknowledging the fact. So if you want one proof point in where World Rugby, so they've put £40 million into Tier 2 teams, and an example of where that money is going is that Fiji had the worst scrum at the 2015 Rugby World Cup, and they had one of the best scrums at the 2019 World Cup. So that's just a small bit of detail, but World Rugby is
pretty
investing.
good this World Cup too.
It's been pretty good, yeah, exactly. And particularly an Australian side that fancied themselves. I know they didn't have Will Skelton or Taniela Tupou. World Rugby are investing in fixtures and competitions, technical, cultural, and well-being support, high-performance programs. So they've put £3.6 million into Manoa Pacifica and the Drua, 1.9 million into Rugby Europe Super Cup, 4.3 million into Super Rugby Americas, which is Chile, Uruguay, Brazil, etc. So you're beginning to see the seeds of that money really beginning to come through, and governance. And of course, you throw in things like the birthright transfers, etc. When you then look at where World Rugby are employing consultants and putting them into Tier 2 teams, you've got Alan Roland, who is helping with Tonga, Georgia, Portugal, Namibia, Chile, and the refereeing. John Lacey doing similar. Calvin Morris, strength and conditioning. I'm looking down the list here. We've got Chris Boyd, who's helping with coaching in Tonga.
You said about the coaches, actually. Is it interesting?
Well, this is what I was going to come on to. Consultants. Scott Wisemantle, who of course looked after England's attack in 2019, is now a tactical and technical consultant and is helping Fiji, Tonga, Samoa. Dave Rennie, who of course had extraordinary success with Glasgow, a slightly rougher time with Australia, as a technical and tactical analyst for Tier 2 teams. Mike McGovern is high performance and review process. There's legal support, etc. So,
where
Rugby
is the support for USA and Canada?
Well, so this is, if you're talking tier 2, excuse me, we've got really good examples of teams at this World Cup beginning to come to the party. This game has to get USA and Canada back up and running again.
I believe the second, maybe the biggest actual fan base in the world.
And playing base. That's the extraordinary thing. More people play rugby in the US than anywhere else.
Because I think, again, it's what was interesting about the Uruguay captain when he spoke. He said that they haven't played a Tier 1 nation for a period of time. To get better, you need to find out what it takes to play against these top teams and win and play consistently and get exposure. Now, each one of those coaches of the Tier 2 teams that's done well has had Tier 1 experience. You said that earlier, which I think
Patrick Lagisquet in with Portugal. You've got Daryl Gibson in with Fiji. You've got Alistair Coetzee, who coached the box, now looking after Namibia with Matt Proudfoot alongside. Tier 1 coaches who are now. Vern Cotter was with Fiji, of course, before Simon Raului.
You need to get the players, though, playing. You need to look at the structure. I think that's what World Rugby could do more, is how can we get Canada and USA to play in a competitive league and get more exposure.
It was like the old Churchill Cup was better for them than anything else. Going over there, sending not necessarily your best team, but sending a team that is still playing a high-level professional rugby and is pushing for England spots. And I think they benefit now. They've stopped that.
Yeah, and I just don't think. I think every time that a team has had exposure and had opportunities to play, I think a lot of Fijian guys are playing in France. Other teams are getting opportunities to play over there. With Japanese players have come over, but without their exposure in a well-known league, you're never going to grow. And I don't think with the USA and Canada, without exposure in a good league against competitive players, they're never going to grow. The funding is one thing, but unless you play consistently, you can't ever hope to grow the game.
So I don't think Fiji will ever make the Rugby Championship as it currently is, for commercial reasons, and I'm not sure the Six Nations is ever going to expand to include a Portugal or a Georgia, but this Rugby Nations Championship, which is a sort of annual global tournament, I think Fiji and Japan will make their way into that, and that will give them more game time. I suppose the thing that is a concern is that we see Tier 2 teams flare up and then drop down again. So Romania in the 80s were amazing. Yeah. Zimbabwe, teams like that in the 90s. I mean, that's probably for different reasons, excuse me. But Japan have dipped off the back of, it's quite a percussion instrument going on in the background. Japan, brilliant 2015 and 19, have dropped off again.
Bloke's done more drilling than I have.
Yeah, but if you think about it, that's the that happens with. You look at France. You know, it's ironic that Magna's abusing England right now. You could go back 6 years, and French were absolutely dog shit through the Livron and beyond years.
They were like rioting, weren't they? People didn't know the team until the day of the game and stuff.
And then using 87 players in a championship. So it does go through. You do go through peaks and troughs, and what we're hoping now is people are figuring out how they want to play the game. It is becoming more about the athletes and showing off skill sets as well as being a well-oiled machine. You can't have one without the other. But what we are seeing is through a lot of the tier 2 are using sevens to collect their skill bases, and then they found a way of putting it on a 15s pitch and making it work.
But that seven thing is very interesting. When I came up, it was such a big part of my development. The sevens, Phil Greening, Terry Sands, Mike Friday. If you weren't Terry Sands, what a boy! If you weren't getting opportunities at your Premiership club, you would go and you would play competitive rugby where your skill sets were tested in a fierce environment where there was nowhere to hide. So if you couldn't tackle, you couldn't pass. You got found out pretty quickly, and then you'd go back into playing 15s. You drop back in. I think there's so many players that don't get exposure, and obviously I know the sevens game has transformed into probably its own separate sport now with more elite fitness demands. But again, getting players exposure in those tournaments, getting players chances to play, it all just helps. It's just ability. You don't want to have. I think where Fiji struggled is their sevens players were so unique and so talented and so based around that format of the game, they could never transfer to 15s. I think how good would Fiji be if they'd kept that 10?
And they didn't have their nuts. They didn't have necessarily their nuts and bolts. So that's where what you talk about with World Rugby has come in to build a line out and build a scrum. Then when you've got the athletes that you've got, then you shape it. Yeah, it was shame about months.
So you are both saying tier 2 teams have to get more game time against tier 1 nations. I think there's one other very easy little win, which is to make. I have so enjoyed watching Portugal and Uruguay and Fiji make those games in the South American Rugby Championship and bring
televise them.
Put them on a channel where everyone can watch them.
Yes.
Don't make it about 5-minute YouTube highlights, which you might or might not stumble across. It's colour, it's unique, it's fresh content that rugby fans want right now. Get it on a channel
Why don't we
where
go and
people can
present
watch
it? I go to South America and present a rugby show where we got on a
you'd never
channel.
be seen again, would you? Hello, Pablo. Yeah, I don't want to do pop round.
Well, you want me to carry this old wooden horse through customs? You sure? Yes, James, take it back through. Neck minute.
Trojan. That's a different story. Okay, so are we expecting more from Tier 2 coming over into the latter stage of the tournament?
Yeah,
or is
Fiji
there
to win the World Cup.
Right, Fiji to make a semi-final?
I hope so.
I think Fiji deserve to go through. Now, then you're into knockout rugby, whether they, it's where.
I mean, Fiji presumably are going to make it through now because they are in Pool C. They're on 6 points, and they are presumably going to go hard at Georgia and Portugal, which means they get to 16.
You would have
Wales on 10, but they've still got to play Australia. Australia on 6, still got to play Wales. That is a hell of a game now, isn't it?
Absolutely massive. I mean,
that is the biggest game to finish this weekend, round 3, as we're looking at it now. That's a big game.
That's a proper game. Which camp would you rather be in, Australia or Wales right now?
Well, you're on 10 points in the Wales camp, so you'd obviously, the fate is in your hands.
Yeah, I'd rather be in the Welsh camp because I think as well with Eddie, Skelton was obviously injured, missed the game.
He's not going to play against Wales or Taniela Tupou.
No. And I think that's an issue. I think, Eddie's getting so much heat all over the place. And I mean,
that game, Wales-Fiji, Australia-Fiji, was literally toe-to-toe. They were, Australia had opportunities in there as well that they didn't take. If you look at it, how Fiji stood up at breakdown time, how many turnovers. I think they had...
Botius,
I think they had was it 11 turnovers?
They were great over the ball.
Yeah,
big men over the ball get into good positions.
That's what you talk about to win games. You have to have not only your set piece and bits and bobs. Your breakdown work's got to be good, and then if you then put in their individual flair, what Hask was talking about. So Australia would be kicking themselves a little bit that they didn't resource that better, but it was a toe-to-toe battle, and they had opportunities. Whereas I would say, obviously Wales pulled. They gave away a lot of penalties, but they were all at the turnovers that Fiji had got. Wales, Fiji could have quite easily scored 3 more. Yeah. So I'm not, but they're on 10 points. So at the moment, you probably prefer to be in the Wales camp because you're out front. They've got to come and get you. The pressure is massively on Australia rather than you.
And I don't know what because of
It's a young team. It's a very inexperienced team to deal with that pressure.
Because of Eddie's selection thing, you haven't got Hooper, you haven't got
Carter Gordon hooked on 50 minutes as well.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
And I wonder, Eddie said that he got booed and everything else, and he said that he's surprised he didn't get more. They should have been throwing baguettes at him and everything else, and croissants or whatever he said. And I can understand that, but he's got to be disappointed at the moment the way that Australia play. They are a young team. I know he's building for other things, but unfortunately, I don't think you get many more lives if you don't perform at a World Cup. And I think because of the way it happened with Rennie getting hoiked out, him coming in, lots of kind of talk beforehand. It's kind of, if you see characters in a game, people like characters, but also like to see characters fall. That's why, like me, people want to see me do. There's a queue around the block of people who hate me, which is longer than ones that like me.
Tins and I are standing at the front of that.
Yeah, but you want to see people fail. If you put your head above the parapet, Eddie came in with a lot of talk, a lot of chat, making Australia great, and New Zealand need to watch out, etc., etc., etc. They narrowly lost to New Zealand. They obviously haven't played that. They won the first game,
Georgia.
okay, against Georgia. Fiji, that they didn't go well. I worry now what will happen if they were to lose against Wales and they don't get out the pool stages. That'll be the first time an Australian side's never done that. What will happen? Because it's very easy to turn quite quickly.
It's inevitable. He's told his own press pack to give themselves uppercuts in the final presser.
It's such a sad time when Gibra come over and we have them on the boat and
I mean, they might as well not bother coming over.
I don't know whether our flights are refundable.
We've got flexi tickets, lads, so just don't worry about it. But they also had, I love those lads, but they're piping up, getting into us a bit, weren't they?
They went after St. Johnny.
No
one goes after St. Johnny.
Flipping
and lives to tell the tale.
Only we're allowed to go against Johnny.
Okay, Tins, having said all of that, and we've lauded Uruguay and we've shown a little bit of love to Portugal, you've just been talking about Fiji. Give us your continental showstopper moment, player, or result of the weekend that was.
Look, I think what we got this week is what we thought we'd get last week. Fiji themselves should be the showstopper. Their first win against Australia, but within that...
Since 1954.
And within that, Joshua Tuazova, I think, 73 metres, 10 defenders beaten. Didn't do that in a season. 12 tackles, 1 try. You always need a focal point for a win like that to follow behind someone. They have players, but this week it was Joshua Tuazova.
The arms on the man.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Oh my, the pipes on him.
They've got their own satellite
legs,
system.
Mate.
Yeah. They've got gravitational force.
His calves
It's the
bigger than my
calves.
entire leg. Calves and arms. I mean, that is if you're to build a man from the ground up, Tuasova's setup is where I want to be.
Yeah, because you start really confidently with calves and you're like, oh, geez, he's got to have big,
that's what I mean.
Massive quads now.
Having massive calves and nothing else.
Do you like the fact he's moved in from wing to 12 as well?
Yeah, it's just weird. They can just move players from one place to another. It doesn't really matter. Semi can be on the wing. They can just swap everyone around, confuse the opposition, and then just let them play.
Did you see, just quickly on Fiji, did you see that Semi Randrada's father apologised for him dropping the ball? I was like...
Jesus, your dad would have a fair amount of apology.
I think your dad's actually ringing him out. Yeah, do you want to chat? I think we get along really well.
My dad would never have stopped apologising.
No.
But I just thought that was amazing that, he dropped a ball. Semi Randrada's been unbelievable.
It's a skiddy bounce pass as well. It's come off that turf quick.
It's been a very tough time for our family, he said.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that. I mean...
Nothing to apologise for,
He was
sir.
amazing. You never have to apologise for making 100% effort and dropping a ball. Running into a post.
Does everyone congratulate you every time he wins you a game? Because you get more congratulations than apologies.
Exactly.
Good on you, Fiji. Well done to you. What a smile you've produced for all neutral rugby fans. That is our continental showstopper moment of the week. We do a lot of celebrating the good, and quite rightly so. There are a lot of things to celebrate. But tell everybody about Blackeye Gin, first of all, because it is now out and available. And then I will do our Black Eye of the week.
So, should I say? Yeah, I mean, so basically, we've done a number of shows on, on drinking gin. Fueled by gin. We had an opportunity to set up our own gins called Blackeye Gin, but with the idea behind it is it's for the game. So £1.50 of every bottle sold goes into a Blackeye Players Fund, which is all about research, risk,
Recovery.
and recovery, looking to independently raise money for players across the globe, male or female, to help them either do research into kind of brain injury or recovery from operations, or people who can't help themselves. And we want to convince basically rugby fans to swap a beer for a gin and tonic. The gin in here is incredible. It's got botanicals from every every nation in the world.
Every rugby playing nation.
Every rugby playing nation in the world. All right, but listen, every nation sounds
doing
better.
very well.
There's some secret formula in there as well that we might come out in the media if we can get it cleared pretty soon. And it tastes incredible. You can drink it neat. It's a sippable gin. And basically, we decided that because we have some bad times, but we also have some good times. What's the slogan you came up with?
Ride the storms and celebrate the sunshine.
Ride the storm, celebrate the sunshine. So
the idea of Blackeye, as Has was saying, is that we're trying to raise £1 million a year for injured rugby players, male and female, to look after those who need it and when they need it. And every so often, we just want to send a bottle to someone who's had a bad week. And that is Leroux Milan, who is the centre for Namibia. What an amazing opportunity to play against the All Blacks. And then he suffers that horrific foot injury. Apparently, surgery has gone well. But the idea behind Blackeye is that it's there when you've had a bad day and potentially when you've had a good day as well. So Leroux Milan, we're going to send you a bottle of our Blackeye, hopefully to put a smile back on your face. Apparently, the All Blacks sent him a signed shirt as well, just to say, get well. Respect in the field of battle.
Blackeye, if I'm completely honest about it.
But Blackeye is now out and about in Sainsbury's. If you're in the UK, it'll be in all good retailers wherever you watch your rugby.
And you can head to blackeyegin.com if you want to get your own bottle ordered
Head to
now.
If you're going to watch the game, support the game.
Yeah. And every time a bottle of Blackeye comes out, you know it's going to be a good day, win or lose. Yeah.
Final thoughts. Do you know what? One thing that we do need to clear up is the nail polish. Lots of people in our content asking why you are looking quite so dashing.
Okay, so I've always painted my toenails. I've talked about this before, and I find it's so funny, like rugby fans sort of come up to me and they're not quite sure what to do because they want to be like, they think I look like an absolute meathead, which I do. They want to be really laddie. So, all right, mate, talk to me about the nails. I'm like, well, I mean, I don't think it's any of your business anyway. But I'll tell you, I'll explain it. I've always painted my toenails because my feet used to get trodden all the time. Men's feet are hanging most of the time. I'll show you them now. They're very sparkly gold. I don't know if you can see that. Men's feet are hanging, but these are quite gold and sparkly.
Actually, when you got in the water this morning, I just thought you had a disease on you.
Yeah, I do, yeah. They're nice
chronic fungal footwear right there.
Feet tattooed. I've got no dry skin. Feet are lovely, smooth as a baby's bottom. And I was on a cruise ship with these lads, and they basically offered me a manicure if I promoted the spa. I said yes. Now, I put different coloured nail polish on to decide what I was going to have on my feet, because I always have gold, but I thought maybe I'll go with a coral or a fluorescent pink or fluorescent yellow just to spice things up because it's summer and I was feeling a bit down and I wanted to cheer myself up when I looked down because there isn't really much to see when I normally look down. So when I looked down further, I was a bit happier, and I had different colours, and they said, would you like to paint it? And the woman laughed at me, like sniggering, and said, would you like me to paint it? I was like, yeah, I actually do, and I'll have the brightest orange colour you've got. And I now like it quite a lot because I think I was actually on a plane with a guy sat next to me, gay guy, and he said, I just noticed your nails. I think it's really important that you do stuff like, why'd you do it? And I explained the story. He goes, look, I think it's really, really brave. I think being a masculine man or an alpha male and having ability to show a different side and also be supported if people want to be different, I think it's good. And I always tell people, like, don't worry about it. Because, there is a sad thing where people go, you're gay, mate. You're gay, mate. And you're like, sexuality's got nothing to do with displays of femininity or painting your toenails. They're completely irrelevant, and don't worry about it. So I get a bit, when people make shit jokes, I get a bit funny about it because I'm like, don't fucking worry about what colour my nails are. But I think they're delightful. I've only got one hand. I've got them shellac, and they're pretty, and I can continue to do it.
Yeah, it doesn't help. It doesn't help though when one finger's pointing at a right angle.
Well, no, that's
to
the other hand. That's why I couldn't do.
And what's so nice about it is it's on brand with both Continental and Blackeye Gin.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, we couldn't get the exact colour, but I think it's quite nice, and I think it shows a softer, more accessible side to me, which I need.
And then you're about to see the other side when he runs down there and beats the guy with a hammer.
Someone's head through a cement mixer.
Yeah, I fucking told you. Shut up.
Okay, fellas, one quick interlude, just while we have your attention, because 2 days after the World Cup final, we are heading out. GB&R is back on the road on a 17-night epic theatre tour around the UK, from Plymouth in the southwest to Edinburgh in Scotland. We are guaranteed to be stopping off relatively near to you, so come and play. In order to get your tickets, head to cuffandtaylor.com. The website has the full list of venues. We have got some outstanding material and some incredible WhatsApp messages, which are going to be featuring in the show. So if you fancy a bit of a World Cup after party, head to cuffandtaylor.com now and come and join us for what should be a cracking night out. Good. Well, I hope you've heard some of what we've been nattering away about over the last 40 minutes or so. That has been the good, the bad, and the rugby. The little lull between the excitement of last weekend and what is to come. We're going to have another show out this week where we'll get into predictions, we'll look at team selection, etc. That is our Le Petit Pod. And of course, if you're a lock-in fan, we'll have something for you as well later on this week. Well done, chaps. We're off to Monaco for lunch.
Yeah.
Another busy day in the life of GBR.
It is. I sometimes go,
Who
God,
thought this little pod would
I'm
be...
so overworked. Honestly, busy all the time. Got to go to Monaco. Got to have lunch. Continental Tyres. Got to do another podcast. Flying back. What class? Business. Obviously, British Airways. It's just I'm exhausted.
Yeah, you need to lie down.
Exhausted being.
As do most of our viewers, I'm sure. Well done, chaps. We've been the good. What?
I'm tired, mid. Fabulous.
What's been so nice is you've held it together really well for about 35 minutes of a 40-minute pod.
So rugby, didn't I?
Yeah, and then you just melt at the end into traditional Hask.
Just shut up!
Right, that is us done for this week's big show. Once again, a very big thanks to Continental Tyres, our proud partner, who've looked after us extremely well down here in Nice. Lots more content to come this week, as we have said already. But for now, this show is a folding pocket production. We are looked after by Tom Edwards and Shara Kilgallen. We'll see you very soon. Bye for now.